Thanks for listening to Creative Control. While I have you here, please consider supporting Youth Empowerment and Support Services, otherwise known as YES. Based in Edmonton, Alberta, YES provides immediate and low-barrier overnight and day shelter, temporary supportive housing, and individualized wraparound supports for young people aged 15 to 24. They work collaboratively within a network of care focused on the prevention of youth homelessness by providing youth with the necessary supports to stabilize their housing, improve their well-being, build life skills, connect with community, and avoid re-entry into homelessness. Learn more about how to donate or otherwise support YES by visiting yess.org.
Hey, this is Nicole calling from Hamilton, and I needed to let everyone know that I really proudly support Vish and Creative Control. I have for many years, I will for many more, as long as he keeps delivering these amazing interview podcasts. When you hear one of Vish's interviews, you think he's known this guest for years, they're good friends, but the truth is he approaches every interview, whether it's sort of up-and-coming indie artists or established icons or like famous, intimidating comedians with a really deep, genuine curiosity, so he's never met this person, and the same really warm candor, as though he's known them forever. I think it really lends to a great chat, no matter who he's talking to, and for that reason, I think you should throw Vish, $1 a month? He's got jokes. The jokes make it worth it. Support Creative Control on Patreon.
To make your flexible monthly donation to Creative Control, please visit patreon.com/Creative Control today. I'm Vish's wife, and remember, when you name a dog Janet or Timothy, you are dragging humanity down just a little bit.
Joshua Hensley and Garth Mason are each talented musicians who currently live in Indiana and Michigan, respectively. Over the past 20 years, Hensley and Mason have collaborated closely in a fantastic underground rock band called the Rutabega, whose spirited sound and heartfelt singing and lyricism have won them loyal fans and critical acclaim. First available digitally on October 28, 2022, and widely available on vinyl beginning on March 17, 2023, both via Comedy Minus One Records. The Rutabega's excellent new album is called Leading Up To, and it prompted Josh and Garth to return to this show for a discussion about why they're now living in different states, how the pandemic has been hard on Josh because he's immunocompromised, and hard on Garth because he finds people's selfishness infuriating, why it's been 6 years since the Rutabega last released a record, how they worked on capturing Leading Up To and its sunny arrangements, bright singing, and heavy lyrical themes, the beautiful cover art by Jay Ryan and how it might relate to Leading Up To's songs, playing more outdoor shows, other future plans, and much more. A part of the Entertainment One network with the support of listeners like you who follow and subscribe to this podcast and spread the word about it and make flexible monthly donations at patreon.com/Creative Control, which is the primary source of revenue for this podcast. Thanks for your support, all of you who do so. And if you're considering doing so, you can learn more about how to support the show financially at patreon.com/Creative Control. Plus in-kind support from Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee in Guelph, Ontario, and Granddad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario. This is episode 759 of Creative Control, featuring the lovely and talented Joshua Hensley and Garth Mason of the Rutabega, with your host, me, Vish Khanna.
The Cretans and all of their politics. Oh, you don't understand the qualities that we are dealing with.
Hey Josh, how's it going?
It is going just peachy dandy. How are you, Vish?
I'm well, thanks for asking. Where in the world are you there?
I am in Mishawaka, Indiana, of the United States of America.
I see. How are things going in Mishawaka, Indiana today?
Here in my house, they're going all right. Yeah. That's fine. The neighbors have been relatively calm today, so
1 foot outside that house, though, it's bedlam.
That's when things go
days.
awry. Well,
Yes.
hopefully the neighbors keep up their good behavior for you there, Josh. That's good. And Garth, I heard you there. Garth, are you there?
Yep. Hi.
How's it going?
Good. Yourself?
Good. Where in the world are you?
I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan, about an hour and a half north and east of Josh.
Now, I was trying to jog my memory about the last time you were both on. I think of the band as an Indiana-based band generally. Is that fair, Garth?
Yeah, totes.
Right.
I lived in South Bend almost 20 years, and then moved up here. My wife pursuing her MFA at Western in Kalamazoo, Western University. So we moved up.
What year did you move, Garth? Was it
2017? Yeah.
Oh wow, 5 years.
I know. It'll be 5 years this year. Yeah.
But sorry, there's a Western University in Michigan because there's a school in Ontario. It's called the University of Western.
It's Western Michigan University.
Western Michigan. Okay, I didn't know that.
Sorry. Which locally you just call it Western.
No, but my point is, for those listening around the world, London, Ontario, where Western University is based, is sort of one of the, it's still, 2 hours from the Michigan border or something like that?
It's east
but
of here.
It's pretty close to we think of London as being closer to when I lived in southern Ontario, you would think of London as a city that's relatively close to the border. It boggles the mind that both Michigan and London, Ontario would have schools named Western. That's got to be confusing. Every once in a while, you're probably getting the wrong magazine in your mailbox, is what I'm getting at, because of the confusion.
Even more confusing just how not very Western they are geographically to the whole,
exactly.
both countries.
That's a good point too. So you guys are apart, which I didn't realize. I think of you as a close-knit band. Josh, how has it been having Garth so far away from you? Because I assume you're 2 hours away from each other?
Hour and a half-ish.
Hour and a half, yeah. Well, what's that like for you, Josh?
It's not been a huge challenge, especially obviously the last couple of years where we weren't doing a whole heck of a lot in person. But yeah, I guess before then, it definitely made getting together to practice a little more complicated. Is he coming here? I'm more likely I would be going there because he's got Gear Mountain there at his house. But it wasn't a deal breaker. And honestly, when Garth moved, it was good timing because I was going to school and kind of needed to slow down with band stuff at that point anyway. So yeah, it's been fine. I miss going to lunch with him and things like that. But even if he was still in South Bend, we wouldn't have been doing a lot of that anyway the last couple of years. So I can still smell him from here. That's what's important.
Well, that's just because of the Zoom preset we have. We press the scent button. What about you, Garth? Is it difficult being away from Indiana? Do you miss it? Do you miss? I don't want to say do you miss Josh because it could get awkward if the answer is not really. But do you miss your Indiana life?
Oh boy, that's really complicated, man. It's like when you get to middle age and you've been a musician and you were kind of based in one area for a long time, you kind of build a life and that sort of thing around that. And then kind of leaving that was a big adjustment. I mean, that's outside of just, Josh and me. You have a community and, your favorite restaurants and friends and all that sort of thing. And then, just being far enough away to be a pain in the ass, it makes that more complicated. But, my family is there. I'm there in the area quite a bit. So, it's just different. It's not really I think before the pandemic, it would just be more pointed practices and rehearsals. You know what I mean? The convenience of we just get together and practice if we didn't need to. Yeah. And then we would get we would just be more kind of agenda focused when we do get together. And now being, even further apart, it's still something doable. just sending each other song ideas through the mail, that sort of thing, and just making it work. I don't think that's really even unique to us. I think that's, I mean, I think a lot of bands, like, you know, again, pandemic, but like, I think it's just something everybody's had to navigate and figure out, you know, what's going to work for them.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, exactly what you just basically said. I don't think your circumstance is that novel these days because of the novel coronavirus. I didn't mean to do a weird tie-in that way. It was almost punny. Are there any other?
We'll allow it.
Are there any other obstacles, Josh, to you guys playing together, being in the same room, and getting together?
Well, I mean, I guess the big thing at this point, now that a lot of people have kind of gone back to quote unquote normal, is I've been slower to get back to like in-person stuff because I'm immunocompromised. So last year, 2022, was we really hadn't even seen each other for like a couple of years. I think we still felt close just because we talk, online or on the phone and stuff like that. But we hadn't like been together in person for a while because of that. But we were able to do some outdoor practices. Like Garth was saying, his family is kind of out this way by me, although I guess even farther south from Kalamazoo. And they both have properties that are like both of Garth's parents have properties that are out they don't have close neighbors and kind of out in the boonies. So we were able to do like outdoor practices at their property, which was, I mean, it was really great for me to be able to do that and still feel safe and comfortable with that kind of setup. So that, I think that's probably been the only, that's been the other big challenge, is just trying to figure out how to do things in a way that I feel safe about. And Garth's been super accommodating with that. I bought
one of those plexiglass screens, that you see around the drums. Yep. No, because Josh knows that I was not going to quit my, doorknob licking. Like, that's just never going to stop for me, pandemic or no. I'm going to continue to lick all
It's a weird tick. I know this is scheduled as an interview, but it's also kind of an intervention, Garth.
Yeah.
We need you to stop licking doorknobs. That's what Josh and I decided.
This interview's over.
Another failed intervention. I'm so sorry. I want to express my sorrow for you, Josh. There, I did not realize that you are immunocompromised, and I don't want to pry, but does your status predate the pandemic, or is this something that occurred? Because I think of you guys, as I recall, you were a pretty outgoing group. You would play shows, you would do things. Is this a relatively recent phenomenon, this status that you have?
No, so I have Crohn's disease, and the medication that I take for that is, it causes my immune system to be weakened.
I see.
So, and that's been ongoing for years.
Okay.
But it definitely, obviously with the pandemic, it kind of brought that into focus. And
I see.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. That's got to be hard, and it probably gives you a very unique perspective on the way people are behaving right now, which I talk about too much. I made a New Year's resolution that I would not talk so much about the pandemic on this show, because I feel like we get mired in it. It is the reality of the situation, but I want to actually go to Garth on this, just because before I get to you, Josh, because I wonder what it's like for him. Because here you are, your dear friend and colleague that you make music with wants to do those things, and yet I'm gathering other people's behavior, and I would call it selfishness, is going to impact his ability to do that and your ability to work together. Garth, is anything I'm saying resonating with you?
Well, yeah. I mean, resonating is maybe putting it lightly. It's been extremely frustrating. I've certainly alienated even some of my closer friends by ranting about this on social media. It's been extremely frustrating. Like, and it's just crushing, like, I don't get to see my friend. I'm worried for my friend. And it's not just even that, like, just the whole thing is so, it's like you said, the word is selfish. And there's just like, I'm just going to go ahead and say that because I feel that this whole disease really has just preyed on our innate selfishness as a society, and people just unwilling to take a small inconvenience, or what I see as a small inconvenience of, taking some small steps just to like help, prevent things. It's just, it's heartbreaking. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
I kind of get a little emotional about it, but I'll just maybe leave it at that.
Well, it's heartbreaking and infuriating. It's for me, it's those two things, and I'm not, luckily, not dealing with that in a direct way in my household. So I'm grateful for that. Josh, similar question from your perspective. You seem like a really chill and zen person. I know my sense of you is that you will always lean on kindness before antagonism, but given your own predicament, like, are you, Garth saying it's heartbreaking, I say infuriating. What is your catch-all term for your feelings about this situation and your own predicament?
I don't know. I mean, it vacillates because, I try and keep things in perspective. Like I feel very privileged to be able to work from home. My kids are older, so that I'm not having to like deal with trying to figure out school and parents who are, being fed, conspiracy theories all the time and showing up at meetings demanding that their kids, I'm some of the things that I'm sure you're probably dealing with. So like, I do feel very fortunate for that. Yeah. I try to focus on the positives of it, but I can't say that it doesn't hurt sometimes just to kind of feel like, yeah, I mean, there are people and friends that have been very supportive and understanding. Garth, like when the first practice that Garth and I got together, like I remember pulling up and he had gotten there before me. This was out at his dad's place, and he had driven, from Kalamazoo, brought all his drums and, a little PA setup and all this stuff. And he had this filter box he had made to kind of put between us, and he'd had everything set up, and I pulled up, and he immediately put his mask on before I got out of the car, and just like walking up to him, and he was like, are you cool with hugging it out? And so we both, kind of took a deep breath, and I just lost it immediately, got emotional and was kind of like sobbing. Just it meant a lot to me that he was yeah.
It's the exact opposite of selfishness. I appreciate this, and I appreciate how heavy that is for you. Like the fact that he was willing to do what it took to make me feel comfortable and safe meant a lot. I mean, those are some things that even like some of my close family haven't done some of those things. So yeah. No, I should probably move on from that, so it's just not like an hour of me crying over here. But no.
It's been up and down, and I am happy that most people are feeling more comfortable and like they can get back to some of the things that they really miss doing. It's just it's tough because the people that, not just me, like but there's people that get left behind from that, and it just seems like it's so easy for a lot of people to just be like, well, I'm going to do what I need to do to feel okay. And I mean, I get it. And like mental health is important too. And some people need more, more physical contact. They need to see others more often to be okay in themselves. So I try to keep that in mind too. But yeah, I guess I would just say it means a lot when others show that they're willing to make some changes to make things better for all of us. I mean, that's the way that we should live,
I agree with you completely. And Garth, I want to give you a chance to speak to this. I know you spoke to it earlier about the heartbreak and the frustration, but I just wonder if it might be instructive for people listening, perhaps, like for you to talk about your motivation, not only to help your friend here, but I feel like you're probably behaving in a way that you wish other people were behaving in. I'm sure that's probably the case, but can you talk a little bit about your motivation, both in working with and hanging out with Josh, and maybe how you're handling things yourself as you navigate the world these days?
It's not just Josh. Like, it's also like, I have people in my family that are older. I know some of them have gotten it. I feel like they've gotten some of those, long-lasting conditions that come along with, again, not to reference your previous interview with Steve Albini, but like, I mean, that was something that, is coming out more and more, these sort of things. And it's just like, I want to be the last person on earth to get it. I want to win that lottery or win that contest to be the last person to get COVID, and it's like, just because, not just my own personal well-being, but just like, like, I just don't want to be a vector for it and pass it on to others. And it's just, I don't know. Like, I don't know why it's so damn difficult for so many others to, they turn it into a political issue somehow, or just whatever, and feel like it's somehow an impingement on their freedom. I know I'm not directly answering your question, but like,
no, there's a lot of peer pressure in this situation that I was not anticipating people bowing to, frankly. I thought we were stronger than that as adults. And just to put a slight pin in this, because I know we don't want to make this whole thing about something
we've already totally blown your New Year's resolution to bits.
Well, but again, it's germane and relevant more so in this case. But I will tell you real quick, I've spoken to 2 musicians this week as we're speaking, both in very prominent bands who play big shows. And both of them told me, like totally irrespective of each other, they both told me they each got COVID about a year ago. So the early 2022. Mm-hmm. And at the time, they were as vaxxed as they could be. One person told me they are having brain fog on stage. Mm-hmm. Like, they are having short and long-term memory issues as they're playing a song. They forget what they're supposed to be doing. Wow. And it takes them a few moments to get back into what they were doing. That to me is terrifying. I will tell you that right now. Mm-hmm. And it should be for everyone, but I don't know why. Right. Some people are like, whatever, I had it. I didn't feel anything. The other person said, I said, any lingering effects from your case? And they said, well, I only have 50% of my scent back. I lost my sense of smell, and I would say I got about half of it back. Half of it. I don't know how they're making that calculation, but they can't smell. So that's all I wanted to say, to maybe bolster your positions. Josh's situation notwithstanding, which is obviously very serious. But Garth, you're correct. I also want to be, you and I hope to be the last person to get it. And I hope
we're going to pinky swear and make a pact, contest.
I also don't want my family to get it. I don't want to be a burden to my children as I get older because I got this thing because I had to go see a band. I did do a little bit of it. I wore a mask. I went to see some bands in October because they were pretty important. The Sadies were a band I went to go see, and that was important to me. But it was an exception.
I did the same to see Low.
Yes.
Last April.
And you're probably very glad you did that.
Well, it was 2 days. Because 2 days later they canceled their whole tour because they all got COVID.
Yeah. So there's this feeling of if something's very rare and special, I will make an effort. But all of this to say, I appreciate your perspectives. I am going to try to stick to my New Year's resolution. But if it's germane to these songs, then I think it's germane to bring up again, is all I'm going to get to. Please don't feel hesitant. I am also going to take this moment to send my condolences to both of you. I know you both experienced losses, personal losses here, and they informed these songs. This is going to be a sad episode, everybody.
Hope you brought your tissues.
You don't even know.
No, I
It's
will.
kind of our thing. It's kind of our thing, Vish.
Well, the funny thing is, to me, and what I really love about the Rutabega is how happy the packages are for often very somewhat sad content, if you will. So I want to get to this a little bit. First of all, for those listening, how long has it been since the Rutabega last made a record, Josh? It's been a little while.
Yeah, I think the last one, Unreliable Narrator, came out, I want to say 6 years ago. So, yeah, it's been a minute.
That's the last time you guys were on the show, too, I think, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been 6 years now. I don't think it's necessary to go into why based on everything we've just discussed. It sounds like there were a lot of factors there that might have delayed your writing. Garth, can you talk a little bit about the process of bringing the band back together to play and to write again? Because again, our perspective outside of a band is, well, they must not have hung out for 6 years and then got together
Right.
one day and then just made a record and then see you in 6 years. But were you writing in that time frame between records, or were you a little bit dormant? As Josh mentioned, he was going to school, things slowed down.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm answering your question for you. Can you talk a little bit about when you started writing together again?
So we had like the major tracking done actually before the pandemic, like in fall of 2019. And then, of course, the pandemic actually hit. And then all of a sudden we're like, well, what's the sense of urgency behind it now? And so we just kind of sat on it for a while. Plus, well documented delays in production, that sort of thing, for like if you're pressing vinyl especially. But we just always, like, Josh is definitely, I don't want to even say the primary songwriter. He's like the songwriter, like these are his songs, and my contributions are more like, well, what if we did this, or what if we did that, or just like little things here and there. Like I don't want to say like, I don't know, that's, you know what I mean? Like he's pretty much got the songs written, emails me the tracks, and then I'll and we just kind of always do that. And we haven't really stopped doing things like, we did a couple like little one-offs here and there every year. We do a song for John Solomon's Christmas show, his Christmas marathon. So it's just all more spread out. And in the between times, like we have our own things that we kind of do, and we've got day jobs too, and so it's just, it's a full life. We just fit it in where we can.
Right. Well, and some of the songs that ended up on the record, we had been playing out live. So like previously to when we started recording, we had been, some of the songs had been in our live sets for a while, it was kind of nice. There was, I think, a mixture of, I don't know, you can go, sometimes it's nice to record something when it's super fresh and you just wrote it, but sometimes it also, like, the songs kind of evolve a little bit after you're playing them, in front of other people and stuff like that. So I think this record has some of both of that. A few of the songs were definitely in our sets for, probably even just shortly after the last record came out. So is it difficult then to say, so it's not a concentrated blast of songwriting is what we've established. This was a year, several years
Trickle.
process. Yeah, it's a trickle. Okay. Because I also read something interesting in the biographical notes about this record, that the second half of it was a bit more improvised in the studio, or at least a little less prepared than maybe what I inferred was the first side was a little more prepared, like you say, probably playing songs over and over again. The second half maybe a little less so. Josh, is that about accurate?
Yeah, I don't know if it would necessarily be like side A, side B, but there are, definitely 3 or 4 of the songs. I guess they are all on the second side. did come together more while we were recording definitely Mulch, the last song on the record, was one that like we had kind of gotten all the tracking done for the songs, for the other songs, and we still had some time, and everything was kind of set up. The drums were sounding good, and so Garth had said, do you have anything else? And I was like, well, I've got this. I had a voice memo with that little guitar riff, and we kind of messed around with that, and then I think we were going to record the next day, and so like I went home that night and kind of ended up writing lyrics and pulling the structure together, and then that next day when we went to record, it just like kind of coalesced really quickly, and that ended up I mean, that's maybe if I had to like pick a favorite song on the record, I mean that one, I just really love how that turned out, and it was that was a case where it was like recording it right away, I think added something to it. So
I feel like it's kind of like, you capture that vibe when it's like fresh and exciting. Like, like you hear a lot of people who are insane record collectors, and, you hear like, oh, but their demo version was so great, and a lot of that reason is not because it's recorded better. In fact, it's most certainly recorded poorly comparatively, especially 30 plus years ago. But that excitement and newness and freshness is like that. You just, like sometimes when you can capture that, it's like, that's pretty cool.
You're absolutely 100%. I think that when a song like Mulch comes together in the studio, it is that same magical feeling that you get when you first put a demo down. But you're getting to share that one. I've had that too, where like I made a record and the most magical memories are the ones we kind of came up with without a plan. And it feels more magical as you listen back because you're like, yeah, we just made that up. We had 10 songs done, but those two, like, we were like, is this worth doing? And then you do it. And then in retrospect, I had to do this exercise recently because someone asked me to be on their show and send them old songs I'd made. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't pick like the ones that we worked to death. I picked the one that felt like the most magical happenstance moment. Mm-hmm. So it seems like that's what you're getting at there, Garth. Like that,
totally.
That's why it sticks out. And Josh, about Mulch, Okay, well that's interesting. But I will say also, as the drummer in these circumstances, when you're not sure about how a song goes, like there's a reason bands are like, okay, we've got the rhythm section down. Mm-hmm. Now we can build upon that. Like that's rock solid. But as a drummer, when you're not, I don't know if you have this experience, Garth, but I've had that feeling. I also remember that feeling when I listened to that. Those special recordings I'm talking about, it's like, yeah, that was magical, but also, phew, I can't believe I actually pulled that off in a steady enough way that everyone was able to build upon it. Did you have that a little bit, Garth?
Well, it helps being a two-piece, right?
Yes.
Because in most ways, like, I'll be honest, I think Josh has better rhythm than I do. So we're like any sort of lockstep is, like I'm syncing up to Josh most of the time, to be honest, especially live. Maybe less so. Like we've gotten used to, because of our distance and things, and we got used to working and, recording to a click, which is like, it's like kind of a forbidden word for some folks, but like it's just a practical way of doing things.
Well, it just came up recently because I'm supposed to do a thing, and a friend of mine said, "Are you going to get a click?" I'm like, "No, I'm like I have the Levon Helm philosophy." And did I tell this story on the show where I may have somewhere? I'm trusting you. Why the hell would you guys know? There's a thing that I got like 20 odd years ago. It was a Levon Helm drum instructional video. Mm-hmm. And someone said, it's just him kind of riffing on how to play drums. And he says something like, and forgive me for trying to do this accent or impression, but he says something like, a lot of guys will tell you gotta have a click track going, but I'll tell you what, that ain't my cup of meat. And I always thought that was so my friends and I would always be like, yeah, that's not our cup of meat. Like that just became our expression. So, cause he was just like, feel. I'm just going to go with the feel, no click track. And, but he also had amazing timing. So, anyway, just a little leave on helm note, as I like to make on the show sometimes. So you did employ a click track. Is that what you're saying, Garth?
Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. I don't remember which ones. So yeah, some songs like they're just right without. But then sometimes, especially if we have to collaborate on a song, long distance, like, you know, those Christmas songs we were talking about, you know, like it's just a necessity, right? Like, and so I feel like, I mean, honestly, I do feel like that has improved my, you know, push pull a little bit at least. You know, even going into Pro Tools, like, oh, I can see right there visually where I screwed up. I need to work on that, and so it's something I work on as opposed to, you know, the temptation is always to fix things in Pro Tools, and I'm not saying I haven't. But,
are you saying that's your cup of meat there, Garth?
My cup of meat is to try to get it right. And then if I'm banging my head against the wall for 2 weeks straight because I can't, then I might have to go into Pro Tools. And, you know, I mean, the Beatles did it. I don't feel bad about it.
Did the Beatles use Pro Tools? I don't think it was around back then.
Pretty much.
Did they?
Yeah,
okay.
No, they did. They had Pro Tools.
Okay, fair enough.
George Martin, the father of Pro Tools. I think.
Father of Pro Tools. Moving stuff around is not, I guess what you're getting at is it's not necessarily the worst thing to move a beat around so that it syncs properly. Yeah.
Do you think they performed Day in the Life all in one go?
No, probably not. I don't. I think
that's why they waited so long to release that documentary, was because they had to get the digital video up to speed with the Pro Tools that they were using 50 years ago.
Okay, I did not. This is Beatles lore. Beatles lore I did not know. I'm sorry. I've read Jeff Emmerich's book Here, There, and Everywhere. He does not mention Pro Tools.
That's all lies.
I'll check the index and see if Pro Tools is actually in there. Now, I alluded to...
They couldn't.
I alluded to the emotional tenor of this record. Josh, in an overarching sense, like, sorry, what I was getting at there is I hear a lot of loss and longing. And there's a beautiful 10-minute song that really hammers this home. A lot of sparse language to get these emotions across too, if I might say. Not a whole lot of words in some respects, but a lot of really heavy emotions. In an overarching sense, Josh, can you kind of encapsulate maybe where some of these songs kind of came from, what might have inspired them?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's definitely not like a 100% like, oh, this is a concept album about loss or whatever, but I do think that's a theme, not just in the songs on this record, but something that's kind of been a theme through a lot of the songs that we've worked on, you know, since Garth and I started playing together back in 2011. But yeah, in particular, there are a few songs that I think touch on that, on the, you know, Gone, which I think is the one you were talking about.
Gone is the one I was alluding to, yeah.
Longer one. And then, yeah, definitely Walk On Ahead, which is comes later in the record, which was one I had written for my grandfather when he was dying of cancer. This was back in, it was like 2005. That song's that's been around for quite a while. It is weird. Emily and I were talking, my partner Emily, who sings on several of the songs. We were talking the other day. She had to go run some errands, and the CD was, I think I had left it in the CD player in the car from just checking to make sure everything sounded right when we actually got the CDs back from the pressing place.
Yeah.
But she was commenting that how, you know, even though the record does kind of deal with some heavier things, that it feels more hopeful to her and just like more, I don't know, there's something like brighter maybe about it. And I pick up on that too. I don't know. It is kind of weird looking back. Like when I think about Unreliable Narrator now, it does feel a little murkier and a little, I don't know, not as cohesive, not necessarily in a bad way. Like I feel like I still am really proud of how that record turned out and everything. But I don't know, this one feels a little more hopeful and like there's something brighter about it. So I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. No, you did. And I want to take this to Garth before I go back to you on it, because I want to respond to what you're saying by suggesting that I hear that brightness too, and I think it has a lot to do with the vocals and the phrasing and the attack of both you and Emily. Like it's that's a big part of what feels uplifting to me, is the impassioned vocals and just the tone of it, the tenor. Garth, what do you make of what Josh is saying about the brightness? And I guess just to make myself feel important and included, what do you make of my take on the singing itself?
I think it's always interesting to hear the things that other people hear that maybe you didn't catch yourself. Like what you just said, I hadn't really considered that before. It's so weird, right? When you've done a thing, you're close to it, and it's so like it's especially when you're the hardest part is like trying to find some sort of objectivity is like, is this good? And like, would I listen to this on my own? Is this something I would go out and buy? Is this something that if I stumbled across this on Spotify or Bandcamp, would I pick this up on, Bandcamp Friday or something like that? That's about all I have. So like, and kind of descriptors like, doing live sound and doing recording for a long time too. It's like, it's really hard because like, if you want to do your job well, in some ways you kind of have to dial that, like, do I like this knob way back, right? And because if you're just sitting there thinking in your head, oh, this sucks, you're not going to be able to do a good job objectively. So then that also comes into the work that you're doing, but then it's so murky and so confusing because in the end, like really all I can do is just like go with how it feels, and all of this feels good to do and play and work on and record and bring, and mix and make it sound as best I can on my part of things. Cause the last thing I want to do is screw up the awesome stuff that Josh is doing.
Right.
So like things that you're mentioning about like these are the things that come in, like these observations you're making are on that finished product.
Yeah.
And because I've been involved in, as they say, making the sausage, I don't really think or see those things in that same way.
But does that mean, I appreciate what you're saying and how it might be difficult for you to be anything but subjective about this. You're in the band, for crying out loud. You're involved in the process. But at the same time, as you ponder, do you even internalize what Joss is singing about and the way he's singing it? Like, can you compartmentalize and be like, oh, what a powerful song or whatever? Like, do you have those thoughts?
Vish, I don't want to be precious about this, and I don't want to be even, I don't know, poncy, but like working on the material for me is sometimes really difficult because like there are times when I'm literally mixing it, or even when I'm playing with him live, that I'm just like, I don't know if I can hold it together.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, cause I'm just like, something's happening. I'm feeling like my tears are welling up or something. And it's like, there've been times where I've like, well, I'm done with this. Like if you're just mixing and you're working in your own studio and not on somebody else's dime, the nice thing is like, well, time for a walk, or time to go watch a comedy special or something, need a break from it. But sometimes you sit with it. But like when you're doing it live, like I've had a few times where I'm just like barely holding it together.
I see. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So yeah, no, it does resonate quite a bit. And, it's just that difference sometimes where like when you're performing it too, because there's people there and you're feeling a little self-conscious anyway. And I don't know, it's just a different thing entirely.
Sure. Yeah. No, fair enough. And I appreciate you answering that as honestly as you can and as candidly as you can, because I know it can be, you're operating in a weird objective, subjective. When you don't write the songs, but you're in the band, I find this all the time. Like, it's weird. Like, yeah, I too am emotionally swept up in what my singer and good friend has come up with. And other than interviews, we don't even talk about it, because it can be a bit awkward or a bit weird to be like probing them about their feelings and thoughts. That's just not, I've been in bands that way too. Like, you learn more about your colleagues' mindset when you sit with them for an interview or something, because you just
Right.
accept it for what it is. So I appreciate all those things. Josh, I said I would come back to you about the singing part, and I don't want to be a liar. My sense is that, or rather my take is, the singing and the delivery is really a source of the brightness on the record. Can you possibly be objective about that notion?
Well, in one sense, I think I can, because we did have, and this is maybe, I don't know if this has anything to do with what you're talking about, but Garth did get a new microphone that most of my
That's not what I was.
were
I wasn't talking about the clarity or the fidelity. I was talking about the emotional impact of the delivery. But
that was built in the mic.
that's a
That's
preset.
why I bought
Okay,
that.
that's
Yeah,
that's a setting.
Yeah.
You just
Just a
click
switch
it,
on
click
it.
a switch. Okay, got it.
Yeah, emotional lift switch. It's right on the back. Yeah, it's tube driven.
Yeah, it's a little, I feel like I have to dance around this a little bit just because I don't want to be too precious about like my meow meow, my my vocals are, the lyrics are things like that. But I will say I felt very present when I was recording the vocals, maybe more than I ever have. And I think part of that was just, at this point, we have a lot, like Garth and I have a lot of history together. We're very comfortable. He's someone that I know I can lean on. He's someone that I can let my guard down around and not be worried that he's going to be like, in the other room laughing because I'm singing another song about loss or whatever, So I think we have kind of gotten to a good place, and not that I wasn't comfortable before, but I did feel very present when I was recording these songs, and I hope that comes through, and that might be more of what you're referencing rather than the large diaphragm condenser that I was singing into.
It is that.
Okay.
With the emotional impact switch.
With the emo impact switch.
Turned on.
The emo imp.
Yeah.
I think is what it's called in the biz. No, I do appreciate that, and I can get that's a big part of recording, is trusting the people in the room with you. Because you're laying your heart out on the line there, and it can be difficult to do. So I appreciate that.
Right.
We've been talking a little bit about the whimsical and somewhat unsettling or harder aspects of this record leading up to. And this brings me to Jay Ryan. I still have the cellophane on my copy of your record. I haven't ripped it. It's peeled, but I just haven't pulled the cord completely on the cellophane. Forgive the glare. I will do that soon. But you don't know this probably, or maybe you have some evidence of it on your screen. My house is adorned, virtually every room is adorned with Jay Ryan artwork of some kind. So I'm a big fan of his. But he's
incredible.
He is incredible. And I want to ask you about the process of getting him to do this beautiful cover art. One of the reasons I invoke Jay in this context, beyond the fact that he's involved in your record, is I think he has that balancing act too, where every image, as playful as it might be and bright, if you really look at it, you're like, it's a little weird and strange. The characters, the scenarios can have a little bit of an edge to them.
Yeah.
And so it seems like he would be the perfect artistic complement for the Rutabega on this particular record. I don't know which one of you brought Jay in. I'm going to go to Josh first, but how did Jay Ryan become involved in the album art for this record?
So obviously we're big fans of Jay's, and we're fortunate that we've been able to spend some time with him in person too, and he's just a wonderful dude and an incredible artist. And his wife Diana is also an amazing artist. And I follow them both on social media. And Diana had posted a photo of their daughter. Well, we'll call her the adventurer. I think that's what how Jay referred to her. But yeah, she had posted a picture of their daughter in the woods, that Warren Woods, which is not too far from here, kind of close to the Lake Michigan shoreline. and it was just such a, it was, I don't remember when she posted it, but it was such a striking image to me that I took a screenshot of it and saved it to my phone. We had worked with Jay before, and I don't know, something had, it kind of stuck in my mind, like, maybe it would be cool to incorporate something, based off that photo into into something in the future. And so basically Jay, we asked if he'd be willing to do an illustration kind of based on that photo, and he said yeah. And so we sent him like a mix of the album, just so he could kind of hear it and get the vibe of the record. And then Jay, he kind of like he works on his own timeline. Like, I don't know, he's like kind of like a weird magician, and you're like, okay, is he going to do this thing? And then all of a sudden he'll be like, hey, check this out. And he sent us like a sketch, like a black and white sketch of In Process, and Garth and I were just like, oh my God. Yep. And I almost wanted to, I remember saying to Garth, like part of me just wants to be like, stop. Like, that's perfect. Don't, like, in black, it was so cool in black and white. And Garth was like, just let him do his thing. And like, but yeah, when he sent over the final version that was like fully in color, like I think I dropped my phone. I was just like, oh my God, I audibly gasped. I remember like going out and like showing Emily, like, look what Jay did, and just like crying.
That's lovely.
But yeah.
Do you feel, Garth, like, again, as someone who can barely keep it together as you're processing the songs that your band plays, do you feel like, and I'm just,
man.
No, that's just, you can use that as a blurb on the next record, on the sticker.
God, I'm going to regret that.
Even the
much.
drummer can barely keep it together.
Where I was coming from with this mild insult was, do you feel like the cover art speaks to maybe the tone of the record? I don't want to give you my English student reading of it, or art student reading of it, but do you feel like that? Does it feel like it fits the tone of the record?
One of the things that I think is really interesting about it is, like, if you hold it up, again, you can see there's like, what's amazing to me is that there's just like, there's an amount of darkness kind of lurking. It's kind of like the opposite of the silver lining behind every cloud. It's like the cloud behind every silver lining, but like there's that kind of hint of lurking darkness behind all of it, which, maybe that's a little heavy-handed interpretation on my part. I'm certainly not English major or an art major, but like just the fact that there's all these like bright and vivid colors, and like that's there at the forefront, but it's just this strange added depth that the further you get into this, like there's something else kind of hiding there that, is maybe not what it seems to be at first,
Well, my two readings were, and those who can't see it, there'll be a photo of this in the podcast post. There's two ways you could look at this based on what you just said, is that this is a reflection of this could be a river. It could be a river here, and the trees above it are reflecting in the water, and there's a child almost in a prayer stance at the river there, and the reflection is darker than the reality. That's one thing. The other side of it, though, is you could look at these as being like kind of the continuation of the trees in the ground, the roots, familial roots. You see where I'm coming from? Now that I've got my old English degree, I pushed a button and it's on, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
do you have a switch on your mic for that?
Yeah. It's right beside the emo imp. There's a
great
master's thesis, MT. I clicked on that switch. So that's all I'm getting at. Like, it does seem like there's a lot going on, and given the context of some of the record, given the
you'll see too, there's more reflection than there is everything above it as well.
Yeah, that's true. It's a really fascinating thing about growth, and potentially when you have a song like Mulch on here as well, and I can't help but think of the earth. So it's for somehow, to me, based on the fact that I'm going to give myself an A on that analysis, I think it's a fortuitous, fortuitous and complementary art image for the songs therein. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Got my A? Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful package, and it all works well together. Well, listen, I really love this record. I'm glad you're back, the Rutabega, after 6 years. It's nice to see you guys, and back on the show. Thanks for being back on the show. That's nice for me. It's friendly. I like that we have a friendly dynamic. It's good. It's all good. So
This is different than the usual adversarial
Yes.
Type of attack show you usually do.
I guess I don't really do that. I try to be friendly. I try to be nice. I don't try to argue too much. But you could have shot me, blown me right out of the water with that weird theory I just had, and you were nice.
Yeah.
I
No.
mean, everything is open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like what you said was way better. I was going to ask if you could re-edit that so like it sounded like I said that.
I could send you the transcript and punch it in. No, it's great. So what's next for the Rutabega, if there is anything next at this point? I know you've just put out this record. By the way, this record came out as we're speaking, it's the first month of 2023, and I believe the vinyl is now just circulating. Is that correct, Josh?
It is, and it should be. We just got an update from John, who runs Comedy Minus One, and he had to talk to the distributors and everything. So I forget what date. Garth, you remember when it's going to be in stores?
I think he said it was March 23rd.
Yeah, it'll be in stores soon.
Wow.
If people order it directly from Comedy Minus One or through our Bandcamp, John is Johnny on the spot, and he will get it shipped out to you right away. But yeah, it'll be in stores. He used the term worldwide, so maybe people could go down to Blackbird and say, "Hey, how about that new Rutabega record?" And they'll order it for you.
I hope so. I hope they do. I hope they do here.
Sorry, March 17th.
March
is
17th.
the date.
Widely available March 17th. Okay. So that's good
Yes, but
news.
people can hear it digitally, and like I said, if you order, either through the Comedy Minus One website or our Bandcamp, there are tapes and CDs as well for, if you like those things.
Those formats.
Buy all our play sets and toys.
I was brandishing a vinyl copy that I directly ordered from Comedy Minus One, just so people understand. But it does sound like it'll be available in stores in March.
That was very kind of you, by the way.
Oh, that's not my pleasure. I like the band. I like you guys. Everything made sense. I don't like my money. I like throwing it away onto the internet and seeing what comes back in the mail. It's good. It's all good. Yeah. Now, back to my original question. What's sort of next for you as a band? You've kind of contextualized your state of health and being, and you're a little bit apart. Are you writing songs somehow, trading files, that sort of thing, working towards a new album? And then I don't know if you would be interested in playing shows given everything we've just discussed, but can you talk about those things at this point, Josh?
Yeah, so we've got some new stuff that we've already started working on, and I think the plan is to kind of touch base in early spring and kind of see how things are looking. I'm hoping I can't remember if we talked about this earlier or not, but we were able to play one show that kind of acted as a record release of sorts, even though it was like a multi-band thing, this thing called a Camp Out. Mm-hmm. In the fall, and we were able to do that outdoors, and it was incredible. It was really, everyone was super supportive and really, it was really great. So I'm hoping that we can at least do some more outdoor shows in 2023, and I'm hoping things will get safer in our communities. So I think that plan is to check in the spring and see how things are looking.
Okay. A lot of hopes there expressed by Josh. Garth, do you oppose any of those hopes?
I'm fervently opposed to all of those that we're going to have a big band fight after this. No, I did sound actually, speaking of the Camp Out, but like, I did sound for a generator show in a park last summer that our dear friend Ike Turner put on. Not that Ike Turner, but Ike Turner.
I know Ike from Michigan as well. Yeah.
Correct. Yep. He did a really cool show in a park here in Kalamazoo that didn't have power. It was run by a generator. I think that might be our future, like
more outdoor shows. Yeah,
and be a seasonal band.
It's so funny. I was just saying this to a guest on my show. That do you think that's going to happen? And they didn't think there was enough of an appetite for it, and that the venues would suffer in the winter and whatnot. Because I was like, don't you think one way around this is for us to get in a seasonal mode of thinking, like we do most of our gathering late spring, summer, early fall, and then we just sort of like we lived in the Yukon or something, where like you're just sort of used to like, we hunker down and then we do all our stuff and get it out of our system and have fun.
Write songs in the winter. Write and record in the winter. Go out and play them and stuff in the spring, summer, and fall.
So your mindset is already in that vein.
I don't know any other way to look at it.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to. Like it's worse to lose something than it is to not expect it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So. And I know I know that like this is a thing for venues that they need bands to play and stuff, but like I also feel like if people aren't going to do the masking thing and do the safe things and all of that, then it's just not going to happen for us.
Yeah.
No. And I'm fine with that.
And
outdoor shows are fun.
I think beyond the legal implications, I think ideally the venues would make those calls themselves. And that would protect everyone involved, but there's no. But at the same time, a lot of these venues need you to be drinking, so they can't really, in the same breath, say wear your mask except for the drinking part, and then police you. Hey, are you still drinking? What are you doing there? You got you. Yeah, I understand it's complicated, but I agree with. All I'll say is I agree with you completely. We shall see what happens. I'm not optimistic. We have the collective will to resolve this. I think. This is where we're at. Anyway, I said I wasn't going to talk about this. I've broken my New Year's resolution many times.
It's my fault.
No,
it's my fault.
It is valid to talk about it, I think. We can't. That's the other problem. If we don't talk about it, it slips through and people forget. I feel like we have to be these annoying squeaky wheels. Or I don't even think we're being annoying. We're just being... okay, look, I said I was going to stop talking about this. I'm going to do it right now. No more. Josh, if people want to learn more about the Rutabega and this record leading up to, where would you like to send them on the World Wide Web?
Okay, so our website is just therutabega.com, and that's spelled Rutabega, which I know isn't correct, but that's what it is, therutabega.com. You can also look up Comedy Minus One, comedy-1.com. We're on, we've got, I'm kind of our social media mogul, and there's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I think that's it.
That's good. That's
no TikTok yet.
We need to talk about Twitter.
We need to talk about Twitter. Yeah. I thought it was dying too, and it's still here. It's and it's stronger somehow. There's people following each other. I'm like, why is someone following me at this time? I thought we were all leaving this thing. Anyway, if we can go out on a song from leading up to. I wonder if we can pick one together. I think those of you familiar with the show on this call know that in a scenario like this, I will ask one person, but the other person gets veto power. They can choose something else. They can dispute it. So in that vein, I'm actually going to go to Garth to pick a song from leading up to for us to go out on, and then let Josh agree or disagree. And then we'll see what happens. Garth, can you pick a song for us to go to and tell us why you chose it?
That's kind of tough. I think I'd just go with Mulch, just because that's honestly, it's the most fun for me to play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In a weird way, I think it really encapsulates a lot of what's going on the record. So I will back you, but also be prepared to turn on you on a dime if Josh says no.
Yeah, you're both full of shit. There's no way we're going out on Mulch. Come on.
Oh my God.
Seriously?
What are we going to go?
Seriously.
We ended the record with Mulch. It's perfect.
It is perfect to me. What you're so antagonistic all of a sudden. Josh, what do you want to go out on?
It is not the single. We're not going out on Mulch. No. No, that would be great. That would be great.
Wow. Okay. So you 180'd on yourself.
Yeah.
I thought things were getting tense there. That was good acting.
I remember I posted a picture of me flipping the bird at one point, and I had 3 friends that were like, "We don't even believe it, Josh." Like, you're, like
That's not you.
I try so hard to be tough, Vish, and yeah.
No, it was good. I was buying it for a second, but that's only because I'm very gullible. So it's not really.
Have you had folks, like a lot of folks, veto the song to go out on?
Not in a strong way, but someone will say a song, and then and they'll explain it just the way you did, why they chose it, and the other person will be like, "Yeah, that's fine, but aren't you forgetting about such and such?" And then they're like, "Oh yeah, such and such. Okay, yeah, we should go out on that," and then they do. I
don't feel bad about any preciousness that I've let on.
No, it's fine.
I should have stuck to my guns more. We could have been like the one band that couldn't agree on a song.
That breaks up on this podcast.
Well, you know what? This might have happened, and I might have edited it out just because it was so ugly. I don't like ugliness on the show. This is Mulch by the Rutabega from their beautiful new record leading up to. Garth, Josh, it's always a pleasure to hear your band and to talk to you, and I wish you all the best, and I hope I see you somehow, somewhere, somewhen. Down the line, and I wish you the best luck in the future. Thanks again for the time.
Thank you, Vish.
Thank you so much. Truly a pleasure.
Very nice to have the Rutabega back on this show. It's been, what do we say there, 6 years. Thank you to Josh and Garth of the Rutabega for appearing on this, the 759th episode of Creative Control, which is part of the Entertainment One podcast network and is available wherever it is you get your podcasts. If you can't find an episode that you've heard about and you're looking for it, or if you want to learn more about me and sign up for my monthly newsletter, which I'm really far behind on getting out a monthly newsletter. I'm sorry. I'll get to it. I feel like I say so much stuff here that I don't have as much stuff to write about, but I'll work on it. I have some things I could talk about in a newsletter. Anyway, for more information about how to sign up for that newsletter and all the other stuff I said, please visit vishkhanna.com. You can like Creative Control on Facebook. You can follow the show on Twitter @VishCreative, or you can follow me directly on Twitter and on Instagram @VishKhanna. I'm also on Hive and Post and Mastodon. I don't remember what I think it's mostly @VishKhanna, except for that Mastodon you have to write like an email address or something. I don't know how the addresses work. Anyway, I'm on some things. You can also visit patreon.com/Creative Control to make a flexible monthly donation to sustain this podcast. $6 American or more a month grants you access to some exclusive content. You get the episodes earlier than everyone else, a little bit earlier than everybody else, sometimes a lot earlier. It depends on how much time I have in my life to get you things early. There's also like old stuff from before I did this podcast, but still had a recording machine, and I would talk to people, and then I would put it on the radio or for other stuff, and then I put that up on the Patreon just to give you some more stuff. And if you go to patreon.com/Creative Control, you can access all those things and donate to the show. So thank you if you do that already. Thank you if you've long thought about doing it and just haven't done it yet. Why not now? I can't sell you on this very well, but please, if you can, support the show on Patreon. Thank you very much. Speaking of thanks again to Pizza Trocadero, the Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee in Guelph, Ontario, which my friend John Solomon, I believe, is a big fan of all those three places. Also, Granddad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario. All of those places offer in-kind support for this show. Thanks, as always, to my friend Jim Guthrie for letting me use some music that he has recorded himself, written and recorded himself, and sells to people, but he gave some of it away to me for free. You can learn more about Jim and how to pay for his records at jimguthrie.org. And finally, thank you for listening to this episode with the Rutabega. I hope you'll check out their new and excellent album, Leading Up To. And we'll consider also subscribing to this podcast or following it and telling your friends all about it and insisting that they do the same. Subscribe to the show or follow it. All right, I gotta go. I'm tired. It's late. Clearly, I'm both hyper and depleted. I will talk to you very soon. Bye for now.